Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. And listen, I get it. I know we talk a lot about hockey on the show for good reason. The Hanover Barons are Schmaltz Cup champions. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on here. Stanley Cup Final, yeah, we get it. But we like to talk baseball on this show too. And there are very few people in this country that are more well-suited to talk about baseball, particularly when it pertains to the Blue Jays, than our guest this week. He is the MLB.com Blue Jays writer, and he's also now an accomplished author, the author of the brand new book, The Franchise, a curated history of the Blue Jays. You see it there on your screens now. We are very excited to chat with our friend and yours, Keegan Matheson. Keegan, welcome to the show. Congrats on the book. First of all, tell us how you're feeling about finally having this thing on the shelves, brother.
I appreciate you guys having me. It's nice to finally be at this point right now. If I've learned anything through this process, it is patience, because this book, I signed the contract for this back at the Nashville Winter Meetings in 2023, and people will remember those as the Shohei Ohtani Winter Meetings. And Ohtani is a year and a half into his new team, so it's been a while. And when I go to the stadium each night, when I show up at Rogers Center and do my normal job, I write a story, and boom, it's on the internet. You can all read it, and by the morning, we can all forget about it. So this has been a little slower, a little more patience involved, a lot more time, more stages, more people, more agents, more everything. But it's been great. And even though I've cursed this book at a few points throughout the process of writing it, I'm so happy it's here. I'm happy with it. And my greatest fears were not realized, which was that something would happen along the way to screw it up. You know, I keep thinking of the example I use is ESPN's Tim McMahon, the NBA reporter. He wrote the Luka Doncic book. Luka got traded a month or two prior. And back before the Vladdy extension, I was getting a little nervous, but everything held. Everything stayed as is, and we're finally here, man. This is the fun part, and it's all worth it.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you too, just what inspired you to do this? Because, you know, we've had a number of different people on the show that have written books, and I know that it can be a stressful process, but like you said, now that we're at this point, it can be an extremely rewarding process as well. You obviously cover the team very in depth. You're around these guys all the time. What inspired you to write this book?
A lot of it was timing. It had to be the right time. And I've talked about books in the past. I started covering this team in 2017. I talked about a book a couple of years ago that would have been kind of similar, but frankly, I didn't think I'd been around long enough. I didn't think I had enough of my own experiences on this beat, and didn't think I had enough of my own voice to do this. And I'm kind of slow when it comes to that, in terms of really thinking that I've earned a voice or an opinion on something. But when this offer came around, I thought it was the right time, and I was really attracted to the idea that this was curated. And I keep pointing to that word curated as the important one, because this team's been around almost 50 years. And to write a history of a team that's been around 10 years, sure, no problem. But close to 50, there's a lot of decisions involved in that. And this could have been a way more boring book if I tried to get into every single thing. Now, after 92, they traded this guy for this guy and this guy. At a certain point, I had to accept that people can either look some of it up or know it already. And I had to be really picky with the chapters that were involved. Some of those, you got to write Joe Carter. You got to write Jose Bautista. You got to write the World Series runs and some of the great players. But I also wanted there to be room for stuff that I've been around for, that I've experienced, because this book, I just want to add to what's out there. When I look up and down the press box, I see different people who have written books. I see people who cover this beat with me who write stories every single day. So this is not the story of the Blue Jays. It's adding to it. And I hope some of those fresh chapters that I've been around for, from Ohtani and that entire mess to the COVID years, some chapters about players' lives in Toronto coming to Canada, those are fresh ones. And those were the fun ones because they were something a bit more new. And this idea for the book from the publisher, as I spoke to them, kind of left room for that. So maybe I'm just a control freak. I wanted to be able to control what's in it, but I'll brand it as being selective for now.
Well, I do want to say, from our standpoint, speaking for Clarkey as well, we certainly think that you've earned your voice. I mean, fans are very familiar with you at this point, hear you all the time on Overdrive and Sportsnet. Like, we're all very familiar with Keegan Matheson and the great work that you do. You brought this up when we talked about the process of getting interested in writing it, and it was around, that Ohtani time. What a wild thing to have been around for, to be covering a team and be on the beat of a team that seemingly, it appeared to everybody, was very close to signing a baseball player that no one's seen before and we may never see again. We're all familiar with the plane tracking and the Morosi tweet and just everything that went down during that 48 hours. What was that experience like for you? Like, that must have been an absolutely crazy time to not only process, but try and get actual facts.
It was impossible to get anything out of anybody at that point, which is why I was so interested to write this chapter, because with it in the past a bit more, people were a little more open to talk about what went into it. And it's been interesting to see people's reaction to this chapter. Some people, it's not a great memory, of course. And I think that the fact Vladdy has extended here hopefully softens this chapter a bit. And as I've gone through writing this chapter and speaking to everyone who was involved in it about the details of what actually happened on those days, I've come away from it not really viewing this as a failure for the Blue Jays. I know they got the reputation as the team that keeps finishing second for a couple of years there. But now that I understand what went into this, everything from the pitch meetings to how they sold him on the team to what they had in the locker room for him and his dog that day. I mean, I appreciate what they did. And at a certain point, you can't pick up your team and put it on the West Coast if you're the Blue Jays. And it was fascinating to go through this process again for me, because I remember those winter meetings in Nashville and then coming home those next couple of days as all this stuff was breaking loose. And the plane tracking, the missed reporting from multiple sources was messy. And like I write in the book, it's not a fan's job to figure out which journalists are reporting the right stuff. They're just supposed to. So that left a lot of people sour about how this played out, and it should have. But going back through this was fascinating for me because it was such a high intensity time in my life. And I remember December 8th or 9th, whatever day it was that Ohtani finally signed, we were, I remember that vividly. We were having a few days late celebration for my girlfriend's birthday at that time. And I remember just having to hand her a credit card and say, like, I'll meet you there. I don't know. We'll see. So there were high stakes those days. But it got to a point where the Blue Jays legitimately, and a lot of people around the league, thought they'd landed him. And I talked to players, executives, coaches who were getting texts from people around the league like, hey, you got him. Like, congrats. And after working on this chapter, the Blue Jays were not used. That's a little brother, younger sibling way of thinking. Like, no, they didn't get used for the big, mean Dodgers. They had a legitimate chance, and they came really damn close to getting Shohei Ohtani. And it's a heartbreak, but I don't view that as a huge failure by the Jays. I think they did really well in the pursuit. Sometimes you just don't get the guy. And it got so close that I write this in the chapter, but sometimes you have to get a story ready. And I included in the chapter, which I don't think people will like at all, the story I had sitting on my laptop of the Blue Jays signing Ohtani that was ready for the moment. And I just had a couple of gaps where I would put XXXX, and that was for the years, the money, and the time of day. So the story was written out. The Blue Jays have done it. They've signed Shohei Ohtani to an X-year contract worth X million dollars. It was ready to go. And thankfully, I remember after that day, I emailed that story to myself just in case it was any use for the book, and I decided to put it in. But man, never cover anything like that again. I no chance I'll ever cover something close to that.
Yeah, what a gutting time. Not only, I think that people don't necessarily understand that side of things, right? I mean, yeah, it's gutting for the fan base, sure, and people were upset, but gutting for you guys that cover the team too, because a player of that magnitude and the excitement that it brings just brings a different kind of electricity to your day-to-day, right? I mean, if Ohtani's walking around there, big dog on campus, like, that's a very different vibe. And on that note, you've been around covering the team for MLB.com since 2017, like you mentioned, and the only the only management group you've ever known is Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins, who I would describe their reputation around Blue Jays fandom as dicey at best. A lot of people really don't like them. I don't know that there are many people that actively support them. In your dealings with these two guys, what is your overall kind of impression of them, their management style, and the way that they run this ball club that has been under heavy scrutiny at times for decisions that have been made or not made?
Yeah, I keep them pretty separate in my mind because I think the public perception's a little different from reality. I think their jobs are quite different. And I also think that if they just spoke like you and I are speaking now, people would view a lot of the trades and moves a little differently. What rubs them the wrong way is process and communication and collaboration and all that stuff. That's a product of any front office at this point. Everyone talks like that. Drives me nuts. My big thing is that I do not think media should start talking like that too. We do not need to be parrots for front office people. And it goes a little too far in that direction. Not everyone needs to try out for a front office job. But when I look at Mark Shapiro, his job as president of the team is very big and very broad. There are going to be times where he does have a hand in the player side, like the team building side, sure. But a lot of his job has been the stadium renos, has been the player development complex renos, business stuff. And I've learned to look at the Blue Jays as a company, not a baseball team. They are a company that has a baseball team that is their big business. Shapiro, I think, is very good at that business side and is very good at merging business and baseball. Where that value really shows itself is convincing ownership to give them money. And I think he's doing a real good job of that. All you want from ownership and kind of all you want from a president is money and payroll. And I don't think anyone can complain about where that's at right now. It's as high as it's ever been. Even doing the book, talking to former GMs like JP Ricciardi and hearing the restrictions he was working with. You know, it's, well, they told me I could spend this much, but they didn't tell me until January and everyone was already signed. That's messy. That's bad. But right now, the Blue Jays have convinced Rogers ownership to spend a bunch of money on the stadium and on the team. That's a good start. The baseball side needs to catch up. Like you said, I've covered one front office. I've never covered a postseason win. I've covered 6 postseason games, 6 losses. Most of them have been brutal. So you need the baseball side to pick up. And this should not be a team that's chasing a third wild card spot. Chase the division. And I think even how we talk about the Blue Jays, there's still that small market, younger sibling mentality of like, no, like chase the Yankees. You're spending $250 million. Go after the AL East. Do not go after the third wild card spot where one bad bounce ends your season, one bad game, one dumb play ends your season again. This team needs to be going after division titles and getting themselves into at least a 5-game series. What I've seen from the baseball side, which is getting to Ross Atkins and following onto that, is that, frankly, most of the big moves have worked. Gosman nailed that move. Back then it was Gosman or Robbie Ray. Thank God they went for Gosman. Chris Bassett has worked. Jose Barrios, that trade and bringing him back has worked. Even some of their shorter-term trades, like Matt Chapman, that worked at the time. They have not dealt away a prospect that's turned into a superstar and made them regret it. That's good. But I don't think there's been enough play on upside at this point. You're finally starting to see a bit of that in someone like Addison Barger. They need to be taking chances on 24-year-olds with talent and not Justin Turner, Brandon Belt, guys like that. You know, when you're going for those veterans, you're hoping they just give you one more year of who they are. When you go for the 24, 25-year-olds coming up, yeah, they might suck, but they might change your team. And I don't think there's been enough chasing of that upside yet from this front office. We're seeing a bit more openness to it, but not those big swings on upside. So it's been a big payroll paired with what I would consider a front office that leans a bit to the safer side is an interesting combination, and it's a good way to win 85 games. It might not be the best way to win 95 games, but I will say I do like where they are this year way more than I did last year. And a lot of that's because they are giving more time to people like Barger, some younger players who could have upside.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. And I think that one thing in terms of the perceived rigidness of this front office that people don't seem to like is the ability to adjust to things in season that they see. And, I think that people, especially last year and definitely the year prior, were upset with their trade deadlines. They didn't feel like they were aggressive enough, similar to what the previous regime had done. And we all know how that worked out. But I guess I would ask you, this team right now, as we chat, they're 31-29. And when you look at some of the way they played in April, it's incredible that they're over 500. But then you look at how they played in a majority of May into early June here, and you're like, well, maybe it's not that incredible. What's your overall impression on the team as it sits now and the areas they need to improve in significantly, if any?
Yeah, I don't really know who they are yet, which is either a really good or a really bad thing. I don't know. The highs have been higher than last year. The lows have been lower, I think. And if you're looking for optimism, it's the fact that there have been some dreadful stretches of baseball where they're barely scoring, they're barely an exciting baseball team, and they're still a little bit above 500. That comes from playing elite defense. I think across the board, they're a top 3, if not number 1 defense in the league. That's always going to keep you close. And their pitching has been pretty good. Their bullpen has been better than I thought it would be. So that has helped them avoid the real crushing, ugly, somebody screwed up losses. But they have not gone on that big run yet. They're just coming off those 5 wins, 4 of which were against the A's. But I think the needs on this team are still pretty clear and obvious. Now, Addison Barger, once a player breaks out like this, I always have Davis Schneider in mind. You want to see him adjust to the adjustment, because pitchers now are looking at this guy and saying he's hitting highlight home runs every night. Let's not be the next guy to do it. He's going to get pitched differently. Can he adjust back to it? If he can, that changes everything. But I think the Blue Jays still need a bat. They're going to tinker with the bullpen a little bit. My mind goes to the rotation, though. I think they need at least a depth starter at some point. You can't bank on Alek Manoah coming back to be the hero. If he does, great. Where my mind keeps going, though, is an equivalent of the the Jose Barrios trade. If you can find Bautista, go right ahead. But the Jose Barrios trade from a couple of years ago, where he had some extra team control. It was not just a rental. They brought him in and extended him. The Blue Jays have a lot of money after this year. A lot of money frees up, and they're going to keep spending. They have to. If they can add a pitcher right now who either has 3 or 4 years of control or who they can extend, that fits this front office so well. Like, that's how they want to do business. And you look at Bassett being a free agent, Scherzer, free agent. Gosman is 2 years away. Barrios has an opt-out after a couple of years. And while they are having some success stories with Trey Savage, Cal Stevens, some younger pitchers, they need to keep this model of veteran, reliable starters. And this is their opportunity to do that. Use money as a tool. Use it as a weapon in trades, because they can take on a ton of money if they want to and get their business done early. I think that would be really, really smart.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Keegan, because, we chat a lot on this show with our friend Rob Longley, who covers the Jays for the Sun. He's a beauty, and I always like to throw trade scenarios at him, and he's usually fairly receptive to them. So on that note of starting pitching, I'm glad you brought that up, because you're right. Chris Bassett, $21 million, that's coming off the books, and of course the $15 that they gave to Scherzer this year, which has been troubling, we'll say. There's 2 guys in the NL right now that are former Cy Young Award winners that are both on teams that are mightily struggling, or the other one is playing below expectations, we'll say. What would your opinion be on a potential move for a guy like Sandy Alcantara or Zach Gallen, Glasses Man himself?
Just bringing up Zach Gallen right here. How was Zach Gallen doing this year?
Not
you know
good.
what? With a 5.13, but I'm looking at his contract situation here with a little bit left. And then Alcantara, let me see. He's also having a bit of a tough one, isn't he?
Yeah, it's not great.
A little bit of one. Oh, it's not good. And he was... The Marlins probably should have sold high on Alcantara at the start of the year when he was getting so much attention. And man, you go back to 2022, like 228 innings. Like, come on, that Cy Young season of his. looking at both of them, Gallen, I think, is pretty attractive. But the Blue Jays, when I think of a Blue Jays pitcher, I think of innings. And when I try to look at pitchers that would fit the Blue Jays, I do this every offseason for free agency. I click from page to page to page, looking for a guy that has a long list of 150 plus innings. That just seems to be their guy. Now, of course, they probably go more advanced with that, with how something breaks and blah, blah, blah. But their type of guy is reliable, healthy starting pitcher. Mitch Keller of the Pirates is another name I'd put in there probably. A guy who signed an extension a year ago, 2 years ago, but has some left. And I don't know what the Pirates are doing, so it's they don't need him the next few years. I don't think they can continue to rebuild their rebuild or whatever this is around Paul Skeens. Man, I'm going to be excited when Paul Skeens is pitching for a winning baseball team. But I love it that he's like a 2 ERA, but he's like 4-6 or something. But Keller would be another interesting one for me. But who the Blue Jays have right now, like Bassett, Gausman, Barrios, are the exact model for who they want. 160, 180 innings. The Jays, I don't think, will ever be the team who go after the often injured but high upside type of pitcher. This doesn't seem to be who they are. But they really need one. Man, they need one. They might need two, depending on how Bowden Francis looks coming up, because that has not been pretty either.
Yeah, it hasn't. Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't think that they're ever going to be in the Carlos Rodon type of market.
Yeah.
But Alcantara is one of my favorite pitchers. I just love the turbo sinker he throws, the big curveball. Like, I don't know. I think I'd be really excited if the Jays went after him. I want to ask you, too, you bring up Paul Skeens, and you're a guy that's dialed in. I mean, you're an MLB.com writer. You talk with other writers. You know what's going on around the league. You see all these road teams that come in. And the Skeens conversation really around the entirety of that organization, the A's, what's going on with the Rockies right now, the Marlins. When you look around at the business of baseball right now, like, what's your impression of it? I am famous on this show for absolutely crapping on John Fisher. I hate that man, and I hate Rob Manfred for what they did to the Oakland Athletics. And they're going to do it to somebody else, too, maybe the Rockies. When you look at some of these tire fires that are in Major League Baseball, what is your impression of that, and how does this get fixed?
Yeah, these teams, they all need to have some sort of hope, and when I look around the league use the Rockies as an example, that's a little tougher one to find where that is, where their next big prospect coming up is that's going to change everything. 2019 in Toronto was fine, even though they only won 67 games, because Vladdy debuted, Bo debuted, Kevin Biggio debuted. Like, it was all coming. Nate Pearson was around. Like, it was going to be okay. That's why I think Oakland, like, even their stadium situation aside, looking at their roster, like, I think they're a pretty cool team. Like, I've said in the past, like, if I was back into playing MLB The Show, that would be the team I'd like build a franchise with, because they've got Wilson and Butler and their catcher and some of their rotation. Like, they have some cool pieces coming up. And that you can at least attach some hope to if you're a fan from the baseball side. But when I look at the Rockies or the White Sox last year, now hopefully the White Sox, with some of their crochet prospects they got back, and can get back on board in that for a bit. But it's so hard to be at a low level like that when you don't have someone to hang all the hope on. The Pirates, for example, you got Paul Skeens, who is the best young pitcher in the game, maybe the most dominant pitcher in the sport, period. But eventually you get tired of watching him lose a 1-0 game, right? So I understand that it's easy to be like, well, trade Paul Skeens. If you trade Paul Skeens, you're just looking for Paul Skeens again. When you find something that special, I think you hold on tight. And I think that teams in Major League Baseball, this goes for any sport. You see it in the NFL a lot too, when a team's not quite getting over that first jump. Oh, trade this young guy. Well, you're going to waste 2 years looking for him again. It's the same conversation with Vladdy going into this year. Well, should they just trade him? Why? The best case outcome is maybe you find Vladdy again and you delay yourself 5 years. So with these great young players, like the Rockies need something. They need to find someone soon, because it's too bad, because Denver, Colorado is my favorite road trip. I love going to Denver. I love that stadium. Like when the Rockies are good, it's so cool. Like they need to have that power hitting lineup, just blasting home runs through the thin high air. Come on. But it's that's why it's tough. It's such a cool market, man. I love that city and that baseball team. When I look at the 26-man roster, I don't know how many of those names I would recognize. So that's why the A's, I think, are well ahead of them as a baseball team. But who they are going to, like, I thought the White Sox last year was as bad as it can get. Maybe it can be worse.
Yeah, just unbelievable what they're doing there. Old Dickie Monfort, maybe they got to get rid of that guy. Some of these owners I'm just embarrassed by. Fisher, him, the Pittsburgh ownership. Like, they get these great young players and they don't pay to keep them around. I mean, look at the A's, all of the great guys that they continue to get through there. Right now, it's Langoliers and Soderstrom and Butler. Yeah. They won't pay them, though, in 5 years when they need money. It was no different with Chapman and Olsen and all of those guys that they had. It's embarrassing. I'll ask you a final question on the business side, Keegan, before we let you go. I would be a proponent of this. Do you think that baseball needs to institute a salary floor?
That's an interesting one. I'm trying to think of how that's worked in other sports, like in terms of getting up to the floor. And it can be good for players, number one, and it can even be good for just shaming a team. Like when I hear, a basketball team or something being talked about where they need to sign a contract to get up to the floor, that kind of tells me what I need to know about that organization. But I would certainly think that's something I would assume that the player side would be all for, because then you're not going to have teams going down as bare bones as they possibly can. And man, with another CBA coming up pretty soon, there's going to be a lot on the table, and I hope it's all friendly and we do not have to deal with what we dealt with last time. But
please,
please, goodness. But there's going to be a lot on the table about salaries on the high end, but I think you're right to be thinking about the low end as well. I think we're going to see more of that across all sports, especially, it helps a little bit having the draft lottery in, so you can't just straight up tank and get that number one pick. The lottery helps shake that up a little bit, but I think we're starting to see CBAs in every sport kind of spread across. You're never going to see a draft lottery in the NFL. People would lose their minds if they came last place and did not get the number one pick. But other than that, I think you're going to see CBAs with salary structures kind of start spreading from sport to sport. And I think a floor is going to be a big conversation point, whether it's a soft or a hard or penalties, how that works. But man, it's going to be a long, complicated process that I hopefully has a quick ending.
Yeah, me too, man. And God almighty, give me that soft $85 million floor or something. Like the NHL has a salary floor, for God's sake.
Yeah, NHL, yeah.
I understand they have a salary cap and all that, but a floor, like these owners, I don't know, man. It'll be an interesting conversation. Yeah, God bless us. I don't want another lockout. And if there is a lockout, though, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you take some time to read The Franchise, a curated history of the Blue Jays by that man right there, our friend Keegan Matheson. You can follow him on social media at Keegan Matheson and find all of his great work covering the Blue Jays on MLB.com. Keegan, thank you so much for doing this, brother. I know you're busy. Go Blue Jays, and congratulations again on the book, my friend. I cannot wait to read it.
Hey, this was my pleasure, fellas. Appreciate you having me. Appreciate chatting about the book and the Jays. We'll do it again anytime.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you so much. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Stanley Cup Final. Is McJesus going to get it done? Is this his time? Or are the Florida Panthers going to go back to back, riding Bob's excellence? We will see. We'll talk about that next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, and very pleased to be joined by Clarkey, and we're also very pleased to be joined by a great friend of the show. Now listen, we will touch on the Stanley Cup Final and all that stuff, like I said, after a great chat with Keegan Matheson. Remember, you can find Keegan's brand new book on the Blue Jays, The Franchise, a curated history of the Jays, everywhere where you like to buy books. It's available all over the place. Really appreciate him jumping on here to chat about the Jays. Now, we will get into the Stanley Cup Final, we'll do that, but listen, it's a big week here in Canada for golf. The RBC Canadian Open is going on. Osprey Valley, hello, And of course, who would we have on? Who else would we have on but our friend Ian Doig? Doigy, welcome, and I'm sure you're very excited because it's been a while since we've done golf picks. It's been a while, but you still own the first overall pick from your Masters triumph. Clarkey will pick second, me third. I've hit a cold streak, Doigy. What, like, I got to turn this around here.
And we're going to keep it that way too.
We are. Yeah.
We'll keep.
We've already decided
place.
it's between Doigy and I.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad you guys decided that. That's cool. We all know that great things happen when you two decide things.
Exactly.
And I'm not included. Now, Doigy, before we do the picks here, I want you to tell us a little bit about this golf course and what we can expect out of the field this week. Obviously, everybody is anticipating an extremely difficult U.S. Open next week. People are predicting that the winner might shoot as low as 2 under. What can we expect from the field here at the Canadian Open, though, at this golf course?
Okay, just before we get into that, I will talk about Oakmont for next week, and I wouldn't be surprised to see over par winning the golf tournament next week. That's how tough it is, and the rough is very thick. To jump over to the Canadian Open, the RBC Canadian Open at Osprey Valley, fairly local, Orangeville, Ontario area, Caledon. It's a very good golf course. It went under a major renovation in the last year and a half, 2 years by Ian Andrew, who's a good architect. I like some of the stuff that he's done. The golf course is wide off the tee, so driving the golf ball isn't going to be an issue. But it's very long. It's 7,400 yards long, par 70. The one thing I like is a lot of the holes for probably who's going to be my first pick. The lot of the shots off the tee work really well with a draw biased shot, and I like that for who's going to be my number one pick.
Yeah. Good.
So, which is really good.
How does this golf course get the TPC moniker? Like, how does that happen?
Well, that happened back in 2018, and basically, I think Chris Humanick, who is the owner, it was Chris's father and another gentleman who bought the golf course, I want to say back in around 1998 from the original owners. And then they approached the PGA Tour and TPC to make it into a TPC. And they had a vision at that time. And I don't think their vision was what it's turned out to be, because this is big. I mean, they built a new clubhouse and they have some cottages there. 3 great golf courses. We played the Canadian Tour on the Heathland golf course a couple times, which I was able to play in and make the cut as an old man, which was fun. But this golf course here is very, very long. Like I said, 7,400 yards, par 70. It has 4 par 4s on it that can play over 500 yards, which is extremely long. There's water that comes into play on a couple of the par 3s that are long, 200. It hosted the Fortinet Cup Championship, which is on the PGA Tour Americas last year, which was the last tournament of the year for that tour. And 5 under, 275 was the winning score. And those are the guys that, they work their way up. They go to the Corn Ferry Tour, then they go to the PGA Tour. So
that was the winning score, minus
the
5.
winning score.
Then how the heck does the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, shoot a 64?
Well, now it's 62. It's become 62 now.
I heard Scott Lawton on today, and
he quit after 9 holes.
Now it's 64 again? Okay.
Yeah, 6 under. He had 7 birdies and 1 bogey, and the rest pars.
Wow. I didn't think O-Dog was that good.
I didn't either. But he must be. Like,
really
everyone
golfer.
Is saying this is legit. He shot a 64.
So the next question would be, what tees did he play from?
The tips. I heard
he played from the tips.
Yeah.
I believe the O-Dog. Listen,
they should be giving him an exemption.
Right?
I agree. Look, we're not going to disparage the O-Dog. He's been a guest on the show before. We love the O-Dog, okay? Yeah. Guelph Storm alumni. I'm not going to attack my guy. He shot 64,
but you're
Scott
leery.
Lawton said.
I can tell. You're a little leery.
Who, me?
No, Ryan.
I'm leery of that. It just...
Yeah, I have no reason to be leery.
This was on camera, and they had official scorekeepers.
Scott and Lawton and
it was the Monday round, whatever they did Monday.
Yeah, Lawton and Stephen Lorenz kept their score. for him and Carlos. So like he maintains that, he's a man of integrity, the O-Dog. Okay?
That's why I'm thinking like
Good for him.
it's going to be minus 25 that wins this thing.
Well, yes. If O-Dog shot 6 under, I would believe that Rory and Allberg and these guys are going to eat it up. Now, like I said, it's wide off the tee, so you don't have to have a premium on driving the ball, except for length. You have to hit it long. Okay. And they had rain yesterday. They had rain again today. So the golf course is going to play soft. Anytime a golf course plays soft, it always plays easier.
Sure.
I go back to.
That's how I find it. Anyway.
And when I explain this to people, they kind of look at me sideways sometimes. But I'll go back to in the 80s playing in the Canadian Open. One year in the Canadian Open, we had so much rain. We had all kinds of delays and everything. And here, the perfect hole is the 9th hole. That year, I hit driver 3-wood to the 9th hole, par 4 over water, and the cut was -4. The next year, we had no rain. It was hard and fast and firm. And I hit 3-wood 9-iron on the 9th hole, and the cut was +6.
Wow.
Right? So that's the difference in a hard, firm golf course and a soft golf course. It's extremely different. So
and it should continue to play soft into at least moving day, Doigie, because of the forecast that we have to cap off this week. So I'm kind of with you there, Clarkey. I feel like we could be seeing low scores here, maybe even something around like, maybe not as extreme as 25, but 18, 19. Like I that wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking. I'm thinking somebody between 14 and 1800 is probably a relatively reachable number based on understanding what O-Dog did, right? So
yeah, I will say this though. Like I know that we're kind of leaping off. Well, if O shot that, the guy is a very good golfer. Like if people that golf with him are like he's a really good golfer. Yeah. Especially in terms of like amateur guys, like he's a talented golfer.
Ryan.
Yeah.
What's going on with your beard there? What do you
What's
got
wrong
going
with it?
there? I don't know. It looked like you had like stitches on your chin.
Oh, well, it's because it's just that's where the light.
Okay,
look, I got a new light.
Okay.
I got a new light. My old light broke.
Well, it's making it look good, I guess. And from this angle,
light.
Yeah, this angle doesn't that Ian Doig? Doesn't that look like it's got like a?
I know.
Like somebody flashed them there,
like a Mitch Marner. I'm trying to grow a beard kind of thing.
That's a bad playoff beard right there.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a playoff beard. Look, I get
it's
lazy.
It's fine.
Hockey season ends for me, and it's
all
like
good. It's all good.
Yeah. And speaking of hockey season ending for me, we got a special treat later. But right now,
let's get the picks
back.
Let's go.
Yes, off the back of who we think it's going to be that shoots that 18 or 19 under. Let's get to business. It's time for the king to take the crown back. But Doigie has first pick because of his masterful Masters pickoff. So let's get into a 4-pack here, and Doigie's going to lead things off with an Irishman, I think.
Well, you know what? I might just fool y'all. Wouldn't that be something if I went off the board? And
you know what? Sometimes I feel the guys, the big name guys in these kind of tournaments, they don't like always put out their best effort. They're getting
unless
ready
you're Scotty Scheffler.
They're getting ready for Scotty Scheffler's a different human being, though. I think he's a machine, but they're getting ready for next week. But I think a bunch of these players are using this week to prep for next week. So yes, are they putting the work in? They are. And I'm gonna stick with my guy. I mean, I like him. He's coming off a not so great PGA Championship tournament. But I'm going to go with Rory. I just like the way he's playing this year, and I think he's, with Scheffler winning 3 of the last 4 or 5. I think Rory's looking at that, saying, you know what, I need to keep up here, and he's going to go out and he's going to win this one.
He very well could. He loves this championship. Clarkey, you are going to answer with who?
I'm kind of tied here. My theory in a lot of these, but I'm not. I don't think I've ever picked this guy because Ian usually picks him. But I'm going to go with him. Ludwig Åberg.
You picked him in the Masters.
Did I? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I'm picking
Ludwig
him again.
Åberg,
I don't think I did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Ludwig in the Masters.
Okay,
You
I'm picking him
absolutely did.
again. There we
How
go.
about that?
Okay, 2 for Ryan.
I would like Samuel Burns. I just like
And
Sam.
me.
He's a consistent guy, and like this feels like the type of tournament he would win. And I also would like to take a gentleman that I also enjoy watching, a fellow Irishman.
Oh.
I can never say
Lowry.
no to Shane Lowry. Don't make fun.
I'm not.
Shane Lowry's my guy. Okay, Shane Lowry. Back to you, Clarkey.
Okay, I am then going with a Canadian.
Well, I knew that was coming. Jeez, is he from Listowel?
Well, I'm really torn because as much as I think the Listowel native
Yeah,
may
last
have a
week
good
another guy
tournament.
was hot. Yeah,
There's a couple guys because one is a former winner.
you know. The guy from Listowel, like this isn't very far away from his home course. He would have played a lot of Osprey Valley.
I know. But I'm going a little off the board with Taylor Pendrith.
Oh, okay. That's not who I thought you were going to roll.
No,
with.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
I think that's a really good pick, Clarkey, for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
Out of all the players in the field, Taylor Pendrith has played TPC Osprey Valley
I've done
more
my
than
homework.
anybody.
I've done my homework.
Yeah,
That's
he's-
true. He has.
he
Look
is.
at Clarkey starting to do his homework
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
He's making smart
All right,
golf.
so now
Taylor
it's back to me,
Pendrith.
right?
2 for
Yeah,
you,
for a pair.
Dougie.
2 for me. Well, I'll tell you what. I just like the way that Sung Jae Im is going to come out of the gates this week. So I'm going to go with Sung Jae Im. And now I'm going to go off the board a little bit for you
Oh,
guys.
here we go.
I'm going with an unknown.
Well, let's see if it's unknown.
Okay. His professional debut. The only thing I'm worried about is he's paired with Rory McIlroy in the first 2 rounds. And that might be a little bit intimidating for him. But I'm going to go with Luke Canton.
Luke Canton.
Clanton.
How about
I
that?
think it's Clanton, isn't it?
Luke Clanton. Yeah.
Yes, Clanton.
Clanton. There you go. Not like the Football Hall of Fame. Clanton. Very good.
Clanton.
All right.
That's right.
Okay, Clarkey, your third guy.
Okay, my third guy.
Are you going to double down on Canada?
Well,
Oh.
I mean, that was my theory going into this.
Okay. True North, strong and free.
And I'm going to go with the former Canadian Open winner, Nick
Yeah.
Taylor.
Nicholas Taylor, BC's finest. How about that? All right. Well, a
2
pair
for
for
you
me.
to finish her up.
Yeah, a pair for me, and I mean this one's not hard. This guy's just a vet that shows up and knows how to get things done, especially at courses like these. And he loves a soft golf course. Give me Justin Rose, thank you very much. And I gotta, Justin Rose.
Yeah,
dude.
no, I like
Yeah.
Justin Rose. Don't get me wrong. I like
Every
him.
rose has its thorn, and I think he might be a thorn in the side of the field this week. And give me a little taste here. I like the cut of this guy's jib. He's a great iron player, and for that reason, on approach shots, I feel like this course might play really well to the game of Gary Not in the Woods Woodland.
Okay.
That's a good pick.
That's a good pick, he said.
Thank you, Doigie. There, yeah,
That's a
I
good
like
pick.
that.
I'm torn now. My guys, right? My pick here. I'm torn.
Listen to Natalie Ambruglia over here. We are torn.
I mean, there's some good golfers left. Robert McIntyre's out there.
Yeah.
Corey Connor's out there. Wyndham. Don't call me Wendell. Clark is out there.
Wendy Clark, yes.
And a guy who I like a lot, and I'm not going to pick him, but that Jake Knapp guy can hit the ball a long freaking
He can
way.
scream it.
I
Eric Cole.
picked Jake Knapp in a tournament about a year ago, and Ian's response was, "I've never heard of Jake Knapp," and I said, "You will, you will, you will."
Yeah,
hear
and he
Jake
shot
Knapp."
6 over.
He did, but he's won since.
Yeah, he has.
So there's a lot of good golfers left.
Well, if they're playing in the Canadian field, they're not good golfers. They're great golfers. And I'm saying that because I got to play in it a few times.
Well, yeah, you're a great golfer, Doigie. Like, let's not beat around the bush here. You had a dynamite.
I think I would kick
2024.
myself if I didn't pick him and he won, or at least played well. So Corey Connors.
He's tripling down on the red and white.
I am. Let's go, Canada.
I love
talk
this.
about putting pressure on your Canadian players, Clarkey. You poor guy.
I'm sure they feel the pressure of me picking them in my pool.
Yeah. Well, if they're the opposite of the Leafs, they won't feel
It'll
that
probably
pressure.
be like Svensson and Hughes will be 1-2, and I didn't pick those two guys.
You never know.
Okay, Dougie, last pick, buddy.
Last pick, and I'm going to go with a guy that I pick quite often, actually, and I'm going with him because I think his game hasn't been sharp this year, but he just made it through the 36-hole qualifier to get in the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
And so that tells me that he's rounding into shape.
Yeah.
And sometimes when guys are trying to peak for majors, some will peak the week of the major, some will peak a week early, and some will peak a week late. And I think he's going to peak a week early, and he's going to get his first win. I'm going with Cam Young.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good final pick for Doigie to round things out. So Doigie
Don't like it.
rolling with Rory, Sung J M, Clanton, and Young. Clarkey rocking with Ludwig Oberg. Pendrith Taylor Connors triple play on the Canadian back bacon for Clarkey. Let's
Got my
go.
guys.
Team
I
back
got my
bacon.
guys.
Team back bacon for Clarkey. I'm rolling with Sammy Burns, Lowry, Justin, Thorne for the Rose, and Gary not lost in the Woodland. How about that? These are good teams, boys. It's going to be a tight one, I think, and it's been a little too long since we made picks, and we'll be doing it again next week, obviously, at Oakmont, but these are some pretty steady. Next week's going to be real telling. If we can pick somebody, people that score well, let alone win next week, we'll be feeling real good about ourselves.
Yeah. Next week's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a fun week too because it's a new venue.
Absolutely.
Right? We haven't nobody's seen the golf course before, really, and we haven't seen it live on TV, so that's going to be a change. So I think it's going to be a good tournament. We have a lot of players playing that, it's a relatively weak field when you really start to think about it and go down the list. I mean, but
it's not bad though.
There's some big names.
It's not bad.
Big names.
I've seen worse Canadian Open fields than this one.
Absolutely.
That one year that Ian Doig guy was in.
I know.
Don't
it was just
disparage the guests.
It was just terrible that year.
I know. Disparage
the first
guests.
Clarkey. The first year I played in it was a terrible field. I mean, there was a guy named Nicholas played in it, a guy named Trevino played in it, and Raymond Floyd, and Greg Norman, and
I've heard of them.
Have you heard of
that? Was when the Canadian Open was the fifth
guys.
Major,
right? Yes, and you're right.
It was referred to as the fifth major for
back
a long
in the
time.
80s, 70s, and 80s. It was considered and the fifth major, and I always considered it a major because
Tiger
it was
used
my
to come.
championship.
Remember Tiger hitting that ball out of the out of the sand
at Glen Abbey.
Glen Abbey,
6-iron from 215 yards or whatever it was.
Shot.
Yeah.
So many people tried to mimic that shot.
No, and this is great too because it's a little bit of a different flavor. It's kind of like watching a 2-1 hockey game one night and an 8-1 hockey game the next. We love our blowouts every now and again, but we like the close ones too. Next week at Oakmont, it'll feel like a 2-1 hockey game. This week will be big scores, and we like to see that sometimes, boys.
And with the rain forecast tomorrow and as soft as it is, honestly, as long as the golf course is, I mean, these guys hit it so far. I would not be surprised to see somebody open up with 62 tomorrow. 8 under.
Beat the O-Dog.
That would be intense. Right? I would let you beat the O-Dog. Absolutely. Tough task. Tough
I wouldn't doubt it either. It's going to be Canadian. We'll see who. But you know what, Ryan? You mentioned hockey. Doigie's a hockey.
Yeah.
Let's just get right into the final here. We don't have a lot of time.
Well, I wanted to.
Let's get right into the final with Doigie here.
Yes, Doigie, what are you feeling about this? Florida going back-to-back, or is Edmonton going to bring the cup home for the first time since 1993?
Yeah, you know what? I guess in my heart, I would love to see Edmonton win because they're a Canadian team.
Yeah.
I would love to see McDavid win because I think he deserves it. He's the best hockey player in the world right now, bar none. But being selfish, I want the Maple Leafs to be the next Canadian team to win the cup.
Choking up over
it's choking me up. It's choking me up so badly. I'm trying to get that out. I mean, holy Hannah, it could be another 58 years before the Leafs win.
Don't say that.
I'm guessing I won't be around, but I just don't think that Edmonton's goaltending is going to be good enough.
Well,
Interesting.
Florida's going to play too
Skinner's
heavy,
been-
and they're going to get too many shots, and I just don't think Edmonton's goaltending can hold it off. So I'm picking Florida.
Yeah. Okay. Florida. What do you think? 6 games, 7 games, shorts. What are you thinking here?
It'll be 6 or 7 for sure. For sure. Yeah.
So Doigie is rolling with Bob and the boys to go back to back in a triple play of Stanley Cup Final appearances. Clarkey, your thoughts?
Well, I totally disagree with Ian in saying he would like, a Canadian team, even though he said he wants the Leafs to be the next one, being selfish. I agree. Like, I don't want any other Canadian team to win. And I would love to see Florida win because the Leafs took them to 7 and they were that close.
Oh, so you're trying to
They could have won the cup if they had just got by Florida.
Absolutely.
And I think they could have if they had got by Florida, but they didn't.
They did not.
Having said that, I think it's Edmonton's year. I really do. They're full force. Like it is really amazing how they can pluck guys and make them good players. Like,
I think,
and unfortunately, they're missing Zach Hyman. They might be. Who knows if Connor Brown will be back?
It'll be tough. But Reinhardt's not healthy on the other side. I mean, he's not out of the lineup, but he's banged up. Like,
yeah, and like
Florida's
you talk about the goalies, you know what? Somehow, some way, Stuart Skinner seems to get it done. I don't know how either. And, I had that argument a few years back where teams are winning with average goalies now. They really are. A lot of teams are. Like, Bobrovsky was great last year, no doubt about it. But a lot of Stanley Cup champs have had average goalies. So,
some of them have, yeah.
I say Edmonton, and I think they might do it in 5.
Wow. I'm on a similar train. Give me Edmonton in 6. I mean, my head says Florida just because they've been such a model of consistency, but I do think that Edmonton's not going to go back there, and McJesus and Draisaitl, they're just too powerful. They're not going to go back there and not come home with silverware. I think they get it done in 6. I just think that McDavid, if he just wants this,
and he wins this one, and then his next challenge is next summer he's signing with the Leafs, and he'll win a cup.
Anyway, thanks, Doig.
That's going to happen, Ryan. I'm telling you right now.
You know what's going to happen, though, probably in the first game is Skinner's Sam Bennett's just going to cruise through the crease and
give him the old sugar.
Give him the elbow, and that'll be it.
It could for sure. Is Pickard backing up? Is Pickard backing up?
Yeah,
I think he is.
Pickard's
fine,
available.
Right?
Because
he looked when he went down there with that injury, he looked like he might have been gone for a while. But you know what? Edmonton's just loose. They're a loosey-goosey team. Like, did you see that game? The last game of the Dallas series when Connor Brown was hiding in the freaking cupboard for like 10 minutes to announce the starting lineup. Like, that's a loose team right now, and that's what you need. That's the DNA that you need.
Yeah,
the DNA,
Mr. Treliving. That's the DNA you need.
Well, guys, God bless them if they could.
They're calm.
Yes.
When the pressure's on, they're not yelling at their bench. Wait the F up. They're not doing that.
They want it. Well, they will yell that when it's appropriate, and they're
maybe behind closed doors.
Well,
this ain't good enough, but not on the bench.
And when they do it, they might have a little sweat on their brow.
Exactly.
Well,
not
and
dry
they also
hair,
generally have
sweat.
They also have a leg to stand on when they do it. I mean, generally the guys that are contributing are pulling everybody along. McDavid with
absolutely
that impassioned.
What was Mitch doing?
If
I felt, our interview with Dark Guy a couple weeks ago, I felt I really let him off the hook, but I just didn't. I wasn't in the mood to argue.
No, I know. Look,
Did you see the post on social media of the shift of Marner, where he was skating around in circles for about 45 to 50 seconds?
Do you see him in the warm-ups?
Figure skating? It looked like he was in the warm-up.
Do you see him doing figure skating in the warm-ups?
Yeah. And you had
I saw Darcy Tucker do that.
You had to love Rick Vive's comment in his article where he said Marner looks like a figure skater out there.
Darcy, right? Darcy he had the wires crossed, and he just submarine Michael Pekka. Before we go,
he was the Sam Bennett of the Leafs.
Yes, he was. Before we go, I just want to highlight something. Obviously, we talked an awful lot the last couple of weeks about the Hanover Barons' great accomplishment, winning the Schmalz Cup, first team in the area to do it in 34 years since they did it in 91. Steve Sabrin, the voice of CKNX Junior Hockey, friend of the show, and myself attended the celebration at the P&H Center that they had for fans, and Adam Oliveira was there too, filming it for Whiteman.
Of course, Adam was there.
It'll be airing this week, by the way. He filmed the whole thing, all the speeches. Steve and I, they graciously asked us to speak. I'm not sure why.
Wow. Did you have an acceptance speech? Did you?
No, not accepting it. I was heaping praise on the team and my buddy Sabby. 20 years of CKNX Junior Hockey, awesome. And Sabby finally got to call a Schmalz Cup winner. Nice. Sabby's the best. And producer Adam, Sabby, and I, they allowed us to take a photo. They insisted. Hanover Barons captain Ryan Colhoun, one of the best kids ever, was like, you guys got to take a picture with the cup. And I think producer Adam has the image of us with the cup. Look at this. They let three broadcasters, three old guys stand next to the cup and all the hardware there, the North Conference. Look at that thing. That
is unbelievable. Cup. Nice way to dress up too, Ryan. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good stuff. It was a hit. The shirt was a hit, and the Hanover Barons are a big hit, and they will be for a long time. Look at that.
That is
all right,
awesome.
Everybody.
That's a big cup, eh?
Nice. Yeah, it's a big cup, brother. How about that? Originated in Walkerton. How about that? All right. Remember, everybody, thanks to our friend Keegan Matheson. Get his new book, The Franchise, all about the Jays. Ian Doig, our golfing expert and pro golfer. You want golf tips? You got to hit up Doigy. Ian Doig Golf Academy. You'll get better.
We're playing Clarkey. In a couple weeks. We're gonna record it.
He's gonna help him again.
We're gonna do some.
We're gonna play
again.
We're playing, Ryan. You should come.
I'm absolutely
can't play, but you can come out.
Yeah, I'll caddy. I'll do some stuff. I'll drink a beer. Okay. Remember, everybody, that you can watch this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV, Channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. You know the drill. We debut on our YouTube channel Friday nights at 9. You follow us on social media at InstigatingPod. Find the podcast on all your favorite podcast apps. That's Doigy. That's Clarkey. I'm Drury. We'll be back next week with more Instigating. We'll see you then.
What's Corn Cob TV?